What's up, and welcome back to another episode of the Boss Life with Bonds. I'm your host, Siobhan, aka Bonbons, and we're talking about how the rejection wound is showing up in your relationships and probably ruining them if you're not aware that it's happening. So, do me a favor if you are tuning in live, whether that is on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook, or even TikTok, do me a favor, drop a hashtag I'm here. If you're tuning in and watching the replay, drop a hashtag replay. And if you are watching this or listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I would love it if you screenshot this episode, posted it to your story, and tag me at Siobhan Bonds. I'm going to be changing that soon. But anyway, give me a shout out so I can give you a shout out. And so that more people can hear the episode and hear the podcast. So we're in the middle of our self-healing summer series, and I'm excited about being able to do this series because it's going to be something that I have created and just kind of leave for like my love gift to the world. I never thought this day would come, and I've finally reached the point in my life, in my business, where I'm fully prepared to focus on one thing and really maximize on that. And that is fitness coaching. I've heard from so many people, and I know that I'm a phenomenal life coach, spiritual life coach, these sort of things. But one thing that I've noticed is that literally everything everyone was trying to tell me. It's very hard to do so many things well at once. You can do everything good at once, but it's really hard to do everything well at once. And no matter what, I could not shake it. Like I was fighting it for my life. Like, no, I can do two different businesses, fitness and life coaching. I can do this. Like, I don't want to separate them. And I still truly don't believe they have to be separated. But I do know that it was taking a lot out of me to show up as one version of me on one platform and another version of me on the other platform, or maybe even on the same platform, but with different accounts. I did this originally because everyone kept telling me it was a bad idea to have, I would confuse my audience if sometimes I'm talking about life coaching and sometimes I'm talking about fitness coaching. And to which I responded, why do you think everybody's so damn dumb that they can't tell the difference between the two things? So I put up a good fight for a very long time. I would say at least 4 years. But I'm getting to the point now where I'm slowing down. I am, as you can see by a lot of my posts, I'm on my healing journey, and I want to really get to the bottom of why some of these behaviors have been very hard for me or beliefs, habits have been so hard for me to break, while others, especially when it comes to fitness, are not as hard to break. So this episode is for you. If you are someone that has dealt with um, feeling stuck in an area of your life and not really being able to find the reason why, that's what the self-healing summer series is all about. Because we don't realize where these wounds are coming from. We don't realize why we have them. We don't even realize what's going on. We just go through our lives acting as if everything is normal. But at the end of the day, like if we were to, I'm going to record myself a little bit so people can see this on, what are those things called? In social media. There we go. We get so used to functioning the way that we function that we don't even realize that we are operating from a wounded state, and that everything that we are doing is coming from an unresolved trauma, unresolved conflict, a limiting belief, something that we haven't healed. And our way of healing, our mind's way of dealing with the things, is to create a new story, a new belief, and function that way, because we don't want to rupture that wound. We don't want to disturb that wound. We want to pretend it never happened. We want to push it down. We want to suppress it. And the easiest way to do that is to create a new belief around it, one that serves us and that helps us get through the period of time so that we're not just completely distraught and unable to function. And a lot of us are living in this wounded state, but not knowing, because we put a Band-Aid on it, or we created a new belief around it so that the wound didn't affect us. And you may not be completely aware that the rejection wound is so prevalent in your life. And one of the things that I want to do in this series is be as transparent as you guys have known me to be. And I'm going to show you how the rejection wound has, it's ruined some relationships, not beyond repair, but had I not heeded that warning and been like, yo, this is a red flag, Bonnie, right? I wouldn't be able to bounce back, stand up, recover, and start fresh. So again, if you are someone that is in a season of your life where you keep repeating, or you can't break through, or you feel like you're stuck, or you're at a plateau and you can't quite figure out, like, why can't I just get over this? I promise you, there is a deep burden, a deep wound that you haven't faced, and it's resurfacing. And no matter how much distraction, no matter how much diluting, no matter how many new beliefs you create around it to cover it up, it's always going to slow you down. So today's episode is my story about how the rejection wound almost freaking ruined my business and my relationships, and what I'm doing now to reverse its effects and go back and heal that wound so that I can move forward with a healthy belief system about myself, about others, and about my business. So let's dive in. First of all, the rejection wound is going to look different for everybody, but I'm going to list some of the ways that it may be appearing in your life, right? Maybe you feel the obvious ones are like you don't feel like you're loved, or maybe you don't think that you look good enough, right? For someone like, okay, well, I spent my whole life thinking I wasn't good enough for people because I had been rejected around every way, shape, or form. And I really hope I don't cry in this episode, but we're going to try to run it. Maybe you think you're not that attractive or that appealing. Maybe you think that you're too old to do something. Maybe you think that you're too young to do something. Maybe you think that your character is so complicated that nobody would ever be able to understand you. So you shut yourselves out. You shut yourself out from people so that they don't reject you. You reject them first. Or maybe you've been told that you were too emotional. And because you're too emotional, who's, like, oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. It can come up in so many different ways, but I'm just curious, who is that? Who can relate to any of those statements, right? You may have thought it was just a simple insecurity when the truth is it could be connected to something even deeper. So how did rejection show up in my business, right? I recently saw a post that said, be careful not to create offers based on your own wounds. And I stopped dead in my tracks and thought about how many of my offers as a business owner, as a coach, were created around my own wounds. Now, remember, I'm a fitness coach and a life coach. So I've got two different types of offers. I've got like a one-on-one mindset breakthrough life coaching offer where we're going deep into your subconscious beliefs. And we may not ever get to fitness. We may get to it, but it's mostly focused on your thoughts, your habits, and your beliefs that create your actions. But as a fitness coach, my programs don't really have to be surrounded by my wounds because I'm just literally writing a fitness program for you to lose weight. But when it comes to the mindset ones, right, I can look back and see just how many of those were created because it was something that I needed, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Same thing with the fitness. But when I looked at how I packaged up these offers, I can see loud and clear now how my rejection wound was showing. In order for me to avoid further rejection from people, I put up so many walls and so many barriers for people to get to me because in the beginning, I didn't have any. In the beginning, I had absolutely no boundaries, which meant any woman off the street who probably has never had a coach before, doesn't have a dollar to her name, but wants to hop on a call with me can do that. Or a woman and that's what I got a lot of in the beginning of 2020. Everybody was looking for a therapist. Everybody was looking for a counselor, and they saw me as a life coach, motivation, whatever. And, because I wasn't very clear about who I wanted to work with, because I didn't want to be rejected by anybody. So I wanted to be accepted by everybody. My doors were wide open. And what that resulted in is me being on call after call after call after call after call after call of hearing no, or I'm scared, or I don't have money, or just people ghosting me after they said they were going to pay on a certain day. You name it, I went through it. That's the life. That's the business. As a business owner, as a coach, as someone selling anything, you're going to get a lot of no's. But due to my rejection wound, I anticipated there being some no's. But because I had no boundaries, because I didn't want to be rejected, I wanted to be accepted by everybody, I actually allowed myself to be rejected by way more people than anything. And so what that created was me creating offers that made sure you jumped through hoops, you went around, you did this and that. I was 100% certain that before you got on the phone with me, I was not going to have to deal with you rejecting me. And I disguised it. Remember what I said? We will create a new belief to help us overcome that. And so instead of, I don't like hearing no, right? Instead of, I take it personally, right? Because I was, right? knowing good and well, most of the rejection was them really not having the money, or us just not being a good fit, or the program not being for them, whatever. There's so many reasons why someone wouldn't want to work with me, and so many more reasons why someone would want to. But because the wounded little girl within me couldn't differentiate between someone saying no to my offer and no to me, I took every no, I took every ghosting as they don't like me, they don't want me, I'm not good enough. And the reason for that isn't because I'm just some, broken woman who doesn't have it together. And oh my gosh, it's because these wounds run deep. It's because it's just like muscle memory. Like once that wound gets activated, you go back to that state where you were where it first was inflicted. And God, there's so many different directions to go on that. And I've talked about this on the podcast before, but the rejection started, according to my mom, as early as in the womb. She didn't want to have me, and she had to admit that she spent her pregnancy not wanting me. So if you're one of those people that goes deep, 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 the rejection wound for me started in the womb. And some of you may have been the child that your parent didn't want. And even though we love our children and whatnot, it's still there. That emotion, that energy of I don't want this child is still there. And so then as I began to grow, my mom, I've got a complicated childhood, and I definitely don't want to throw my mom under the bus because she's been such an integral part of my recent season of healing. I'm so thankful for her. But what happened was, I'm assuming, right? She gave me whatever I wanted when I was younger. She didn't want to hear me crying. And that could be because, she really didn't want to be a mom again. So there's a lot of resentment, like not wanting, because parenting is hard. You have to be the bad guy for your kids very young in their life, not just when they're grown. You start waiting to discipline your kids until they're like teenagers, you're wild, okay? Because they've been running the show for the past decade. Now all of a sudden you want to step in when they're teens and tell them what to do. Good luck. You got to start early. My mom didn't start early. She gave me everything I wanted, which resulted in the family looking at me like I was a spoiled kid, which resulted in, sometimes people favoring my older sister over me because my older sister wasn't the spoiled one. She got the teen version of my mom. I got the adult version of my mom who had more money and could, give me more stuff, I guess, right? So anywho, I created this belief that my family didn't love me, right? Because we weren't a very affectionate family, and every family has issues, and we definitely do too. But I decided that everybody liked my older sister better than me. And so I would always distance myself from them. And because I would distance myself from them, I was the butt of a lot of jokes. And because I was the butt of a lot of jokes, while feeling like they didn't like me, I grew up the black sheep. I distanced myself from my family. I ran away on the weekends as a teenager to get away from them. I never wanted to be a part of their gatherings. I hated going to family events, whether it was on my mother's side or my father's side. I always wanted to hang out with my friends more. And the less I hung out with my family, I did not realize until 36 years old, I did not realize how much it affected me that I separated myself from my family. Now, there's so many ways that this can go, right? Because my family is a little off. And for the entrepreneurial journey, for the personal development journey, for the spiritual awakening journey that I've been on, yeah, I would have had to separate myself from them at some point or the other. And who knows what I would have turned out like if I had spent more time with some of those crazies. Love them, but man. and if you're listening, you know what I'm talking about, right? But that's neither here nor there. Because at a young age, not only was I not wanted by my mother as a baby and, not really given the same amount of attention or the same, not level of, but the same type of affection that my older sister got, I grew up feeling rejected. And because I didn't have that father in my place, and I've got the father wound and rejection. And then as I went to grow up, being the only Black, like one of the only few Black kids in my class, like maybe there'd be three or four kids at most in each class. There's a lot of rejection there about my hair, about, the way I dressed, about not having money, growing up around kids that had more money. So just from every angle that I could think of, I felt rejected. I never felt accepted. And I'm just now realizing what sort of belief a young child would create about the world with that belief set. Because by the time you're 7 years old, your subconscious has already formed its idea of what life is. It has taken in everything that it has seen and it has created beliefs about it, kind of like a template. So it doesn't have to go back and relive the pain, or it doesn't have to go back and relive the happiness. It can just go back and, oh, this happened, boom, that means rejection. Oh, this happened, that means this. And so the moment that I wasn't accepted in anywhere in life, I automatically decided that I was rejected and took it personally. So I hope that that makes sense. And I tell these stories so that you can hopefully see yourself in my story and see how you may have done the same thing and created beliefs about yourself, about people, about situations that just aren't true, right? It's just from your limited perspective. So then you flash forward. So I'm an adult woman who's hearing no all the time. And now that I've been in business for a year or two, we're in 2021 now. I started making it so that, yeah, you have to fill out an application first to talk to me. And that was normal for coaches. But then, I also like it wasn't easy. Like people didn't know how to get a hold of me right away. It was like, well, do I DM her? No. Then at some point I was like, don't DM me because everyone just wants free coaching. You need to work with me or not. Like I just went through so many ups and downs, trying to put up walls to keep myself from being rejected and to protect myself. And I want you to think of what kind of walls you put up. I'm in a season right now where I have to intentionally remind myself to go out and socialize with people. When I talk to people, when I'm out and about walking my dogs, I realize that I don't even make eye contact with people in my neighborhood because I'm just assuming they're going to reject me and my pit bulls and think that my dogs are horrible because one person in the neighborhood, maybe one or two, called on me. We create walls to protect ourselves. And when that wall is protecting yourselves from rejection, what you also miss out on is the acceptance. There are people that want to love you. There are people that want to be in your life. And just because you have ran into situations where people didn't honor you doesn't mean that everyone is rejecting you. I've talked a little bit about my love life, and the person that someone fell in love with me last year that was in my face the whole time. And when on paper, they're everything that I've wanted. But I was so blind to the idea that someone of his caliber could even be interested in me that I shut them all the way out, all the way up until this person was about to move. And they finally were like, yo, woman, like you make me weak. And I'm like, what? Me? How? And at that point, this man was so just exhausted with me. It was just like, whatever. And I believe everything happens for a reason. So if that's who I was supposed to be with, I would be with them. Or if we are meant to be together, we will be when the time is right. But the point is, my rejection filter kept me from even being able to receive their love. Like I still to this day go back and replay every interaction like, oh, wow. Because I had my guard up with them so much. Everything that they were doing for me, I saw it through the lens of a wounded young girl who thought they were here to manipulate me or here to control me because I had been controlled. So from 14 to 20 in an abusive relationship. I just assumed the worst, never that they would be interested in me, that they only saw me as something that would make them money. Like, so they were grooming me to be like their entrepreneur protege or something, like this is what rejection does to you. You won't accept it. This person let me into their home, let me into their business, let me into their personal life. And any other woman would be like, wow. But because of my filter, I only saw it as, they're only doing this because they have money. They're only doing this because they just want to say that they, were the ones that helped me get, to this place in my business. That ruined that relationship big time, right? Business wise, I started creating offers even in my fitness business, maybe not the actual workout program, but the way that you could work with us was like, so I don't have to be rejected. The membership was created so that I could switch to focus on life coaching and still take care of my fitness clients. But what it ended up being was I don't want to hear no on the phone to someone again about my fitness prices. So maybe if I make it cheaper, then I won't have to hear no as much. That was wrong too. People still like it's not about the price, right? I mean, it is. Some people really just can't afford things, but it also comes down to the value that people see and what you do. And when you don't value yourself or your services or your program or whatever, because you don't think anyone, because you're already prepared to be rejected, that energy comes out. Whereas if I had been presenting myself the whole time like I'm the cream of the crop, you don't want to pay to work with me and my team of coaches and everything we offer, we'll go find someone, that works better for you. Instead, I did that and I hid behind the membership for a year. I hid behind, hey, I have a cheap entry level program. If you want to come, grab it. If not, whatever. And that protected me from being rejected. What it did not do was help grow my business. What it also did was enable clients to not take their fitness journey as serious because, it's just $50. Yeah, it's just $75. They don't really think about it. But what it did, it also protected me. The people that did want to work with me one-on-one really did want to work with me. I didn't have to overcome their objections on a sales call. I didn't have to jump through leaps and bounds to convince them. And that felt good for me because every time that I would go out of my way to do those things, if I got a no, I would be like, well, I did everything right. They must just really not like me. And I know this is very business focused, so I'm going to try to bring it back to relationships, but this rejection wound is appearing way more in your life than you realize. If you call yourself antisocial or you don't like humans, you're rejecting people because you want to beat them to the punch. It's a lot easier to reject and isolate than it is to accept that people don't want you. But the truth is, and I'll close with this, there are people out there that want you, that love you, that accept you, that want to be in your space, that want to honor you, that want to glorify you, that want to be your best friend, that want to buy your services, that want to buy your business, that want to take you on a date, that want to marry you. They're there, but you won't be a magnet to them. You won't even come up on their radar if you're still showing up as a version of you that doesn't even accept yourself. You can hide behind your fitness accolades. You can hide behind your business. You can hide behind your career and all of your accomplishments. But at the end of the day, that rejection wound is going to bubble up to the surface at the most inopportune times. And so if any of this resonated with you and you want to dig deeper into this, tomorrow, Thursday, July 20th, I'll be going live in my Fierce, Fearless, and Feminine Facebook group, giving you guys a little teaser about what this rejection wound is, kind of continuing this conversation. And then from there, you'll be receiving an email with a video training that dives deeper into the rejection wound and gives you some exercises and workbook to work through this. Again, as I've mentioned, this was going to be a paid for class, like $33 a class. We do it on Saturdays every week during the summer. But one, I wanted my summers off. Like, let's just be real. And two, this is a labor of love. I feel like these self-healing series classes need to be something that are just out there in the universe for people. And if you feel compelled to donate, if you take one of these courses, one of these videos, and you're like, that was amazing, and you want to donate, there's an option to do so there. But I definitely just want to provide you guys the space and the resources to process some of this stuff so that you don't have to ruin your businesses, ruin your relationships, or start from the bottom like where I'm at now. I'm starting fresh. I'm doing a clean slate, starting over with my business from a perspective of this is me, this is who I am, this is what I offer, this is what I love, this is what I do. If this resonates with you, come join. If it doesn't resonate with you, then I hope that you find a coach, a community that can bring to you what you offer. We offer mindset and body transformations. We offer holistic healing and spiritual mentoring. And if that's not, in the cards for you, again, I hope you find it. You deserve that fresh start. You deserve to be living your life from the perspective of someone that is healed, not walking around bleeding on everything that they touch, which admittedly has been me these past 2 or 3 years. So I thank you guys for any of my loyal fans or loyal community that has been here from the beginning. I thank you for those that are just joining. And, I don't know when you'll be watching this, but I hope that this speaks to you. In the show notes, there will be links for everything that I mentioned to join the Facebook group. It is females only. So fellas, just feel free to shoot me a message or comment on this video if you want access to that series without the Facebook group. And I'm off to go have a healthy lunch with a friend and discuss all of the growth and all the healing that I have gotten to experience this season. I love you guys to the moon and back. Thank you so much for being here. Share this episode with someone that needs to hear it. Have the best day of your beautiful entire lives, and I will see you next time on The Boss Life with Bonds.